Rachel, and my guest today is Liviu. Hello, Liviu.
Hi.
Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm originally from Romania, and I lived here in Sweden a longer time, a period of almost 24 years. But I know a lot about Romania. I've been there also a lot of times, and it's a very beautiful country. In nature and all of it, we have balanced with seas and mountains and trees, and everything is very good balanced. We have a great history. One of the most popular in the world historical personalities is Dracula.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that.
Okay, first you have to know that for Romanians, Stefan the Great is bigger than Dracula. But internationally, Dracula is bigger because of the Bram Stoker's history. But the Bram Stoker's history is a bit fake. The truth is that the Dracula is a ghost, but is not a vampire. This whole vampire story is a bit fake. He existed as a person.
You mean Twilight is fake?
Yeah, Twilight is fake, exactly. He existed as a person.
Yes.
And he was, in fact, cruel. But he was cruel and right at the same time. So it's like having somebody that punishes the ones who are doing bad, because he didn't care about that person was rich or poor. He cared about a few did bad. And he had many wars with the Ottoman Empire, which, by the way, right now is called the Turk. Back then it was the Ottoman Empire. And his wife was sister to Stefan the Great's wife. So they were sisters. And Stefan the Great is bigger in Romania because he's the biggest king Romania had. He had 50 wars with the Turk Ottoman Empire. For every war he made one or more churches. And so there are a lot of old churches in Romania built because of Stefan the Great. It's a bit funny because, I mean, Stefan the Great was with the church and with Christianity, while Dracula was very dark, and so they were opposite to each other, although they were very close, even related. And it was also fun they even had war between each other, although they were friends when it comes to the enemy, which was the Ottoman Turk.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Dracula is from Romania, because I think nowadays Dracula is well known because of American film.
The vampire story, but the vampire is not American originally. The vampire story is spread by America, but originally came from that Hungarian rich people, after Dracula's death, killed the young women and forced a fork in their necks. And by the way, the fork back then had only 2 horns. So it looked like they were bitten in the neck after the young girls got strangled by the murderers back then. And that was because they wanted to paint Dracula as a demon, to demonize him, because they hated him. The majority of people Dracula killed in his time was rich Hungarians. And the way they killed them, there wasn't the honorary impaling as in England, where they cut off the head and put the head on a pole, or the honorary impalement where you have the pole stick through the tummy. It was a different way. They put the sharp edge in the ground and the round edge with oil, and up the back side of the person upwards till that person died.
Oh my God!
That's why he was called to be so cruel.
Yeah.
And the most cruel pictures known in history by Dracula was when he, on about 1 kilometer square, impaled all the people that were in front of the Turk Ottoman army. So they would scare the army away. And he succeeded because, I mean, he didn't stand a chance against 500,000 Turks, while he was only 50,000 in the army. He wouldn't have stood a chance.
Yeah.
So, and plus the Turk Empire, they had help from other Arabian empires. So when they planned to attack first with 500 soldiers, then with 5 million, which was impossible for Dracula to defend himself against. So to scare them away, it was a very good tactic, but very cruel, to impale everything on one kilometer mile, a quarter kilometer, on 1 kilometer mile in all directions. That was very hard to do, and of course it sounds cool, but it worked. and saved Romania. It saved Romania from occupation. So yeah, it worked.
Yeah, interesting, because I think when we talk about vampire, Dracula, something like that, it's also related to the church and people, like two sides.
The true story in Dracula's story, in the Bram Stoker story, is the part when his wife does suicide. His wife did do suicide. She was lied that the Ottoman Turks will occupy Romania and Dracula and the palace will attack the palace. And when she found out that the Ottoman will attack the palace, she took her life. That was a lie, because the Ottoman did not attack the palace. Dracula's army did stop the Ottoman Turks. But she didn't know that, so she committed suicide, and when Dracula came back, she found her dead. Of course, she committed suicide by jumping out the window. And his palace is very tall, so yeah, she did die eventually. But the thing is that afterwards, he became more cruel after his wife's death. He loved his wife very, very much, and he also cursed God for letting his wife do suicide.
Yeah. You have really deep knowledge about that.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Well, I love history, and especially Romanian history, because Romania has a wonderful history.
Yeah.
And religion, but we are Greek Orthodox. Like the Greeks, or like the Russians, but different, because Russians are a little bit different than us. We're not exactly the same.
Yeah.
The Greek Orthodox we have, personally, I hold it more than the other Christian religions because of history. The Romanian Greek Orthodox has never burned people on a stake, has never killed people in the name of God in entire history. So we don't have a history of killing people in the name of God. Then again, we do have a history of getting killed by the Catholics, for we were Orthodox. That we do have. So, to be honest, the Orthodox was at the brink of its extinction in the 15th century.
Yes.
But it came back. It came back because we don't have blood on our hands. We haven't killed people in the name of God. We believe that what God should judge and punish should no human judge or punish. That is up to God.
Yeah, thank you. It's really interesting. So, I think you have deep knowledge about history and religion. So could you give me, I would love to know about how history and religion influence in social, in Romania social.
History and religion. Well, that's a good question, in fact. Religion
because
is...
what I'm looking for is culture,
Yeah.
and I would love to know that how it's related to business environment as well.
Yes. Well, religion is included in very many places in Romania, even if they, as a person, maybe not so religious and don't believe in it. I mean, if you go at the police office, you will find in all police offices a cross or something which is religious, a cross or icon or something of Jesus or the Holy Mary or something, even if they personally maybe are not that religious. It's a culture in Romania to show off that you're religious, even if you're not. And Romanians look more religious than they actually are. We are a religious country, we do believe in God, but we're not fanatic about it. So the idea of religion fanaticism in Romania is absurd. It just doesn't exist. And in a business world, we separate business from religion a lot. Business is business, religion. We don't put business, religion, and politics together. Politics and business, yes, but not religion and politics. Religion has no space in politics in Romania.
But I think there's a connecting point between history and religion.
Yes,
It's
there is.
connected to the culture.
There is.
And the culture influence in...
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
there is a connection.
But because of the communists in Romania, that connection has a bit been taken out. Because in the communist time, you were not allowed to say you're religious. And very many churches got torn down. But because the Romanian people did not want to leave their religion, the Greek Orthodox survived. And now in the business world today, believe in religion, they accept it, but separate business from religion, even if there isn't a culture. I mean, of course, if you tell somebody God will punish you, he goes, okay, maybe so, but as long as I'm here on this planet, I do what I want. That's the idea. But somehow there is a moral ethic behind it, like saying, well, I'm not going to be too cruel, because even if I don't believe in God, or if I do, think of a God exists, or think of somehow still a background thought when doing bad things. Even if I agree, there are a lot of people who don't care also.
Yeah.
So, just to put it this way, when it comes to religion, we're modern. Even if we have a special church and a special way of having religion. If you go to the church, you are not, the Romanian church don't talk about, please God help this politician to live or something. They will not say, please give us money for Zimbabwe or I don't know what. They will only pray to God, and it's only pure on a religious level. No politics, no business has place in the church.
Okay. Got
The
it.
church has business, of course, between the church, because it has to survive, but not when it comes to the prayer itself in the church.
Thank you. And it's really interesting information, I think, because I don't have good knowledge about religion, historical, but today you let me know many interesting thing about your country as well. So let's come back to the
Business part.
Yeah, business part. Because actually, I was looking for tips and some information that good for people that care, that want to cooperate with in your country. Understand me?
Well, first, the first thing very important in Romania is how you present yourself. If you, for example, dress in a costume and go there to present yourself, it means you're very cultural, well cultivated. But if you go, for example, in piercing tattoos and looking like a punk and want to be a bank manager, you're not gonna get that job. Certainly never. No matter how smart you are.
In any kind of any country.
I would say in Romania it's very important to be better dressed and the work you work in. Unlike Sweden, which you have to be dressed as the work you work in. With that said, for example, you go and to work, for example, as a construction worker, you're not gonna go there on the interview as a construction worker. You're gonna go dressed as a normal person, but a little bit better. Maybe not in a costume necessarily, because it's a construction worker, but still, when it comes to the interview, when it comes to the work, you will gonna get dressed as a construction worker, of course.
Professional appearance.
Yes, definitely. And but there is one thing in Romanian culture. In English, you can talk with you, but when you talk in Romanian, it is very polite and good to talk with Mr., Miss, and not with you, because you is sometimes between. If you go to the higher class, it's called insulting. Of course, if you talk with a friend or something, you can talk with you, no problem. But when you're gonna go to a job interview, it's very, very important that you use the word as Mr., Miss, and stuff
Okay,
like
then
that.
I'm sorry. Hello, Mr. Liviu.
It doesn't matter. I'm used to it. In Sweden, they talk with you, so I'm used to it. And even in Romanian, we Romanians have learned that in English, you talk with you, and that's no problem. But when you talk
It's
Romanian,
really interesting to know, because I respect any
yes,
culture. Yeah.
we Romanians accept other cultures. We have been very open to other cultures, but we are like this. We accept other cultures, but please accept mine, in my country. So, as far as Romania goes, when you go to get a job, we talk about the dressing, we have talked about talking, but we have not talked about how you act. Well, there are two types of people. In Romania, there is a problem with the corruption part. And of course, many people get through contacts, work, but because so many young people in Romania has gone to other countries in Europe, Romania has a lack of experienced people, which means that they have begun to lay aside the part which is called nepotism in Romania, which means I'm gonna hire him because he's my nephew, I don't know what he is. it's not, it used to be like that, but now that part is laid down a little bit, and because they need more experienced people, so they are looking more and more at what have you done before, how do you present it, what is your stamp, have you been a person like this or that, but the stamp you have from a former business is less important. It is important, but less important. Just because your former boss has fired you doesn't mean that the other boss won't hire you. The other boss may think the other way around, may think, well, he has experience from X company. Maybe I can get some information from the other company by hiring this person. Other bosses may think, no, I'm not going to hire him because I'm going to get enemy with that company. It depends who you are meeting. All people don't think the same. The thing is, in Romania, you can find one person thinking like this, and another person thinking like this. We can be very different from person to person. We don't have like, all people, just because this has answered to you like this, all people is going to answer to you the same way. It's not like that.
So it just depends on your individual performance.
Yes, on the individual performance and luck. Who
And
you meet,
luck.
who do you meet, who do you talk to.
So it's not much related to relationship.
Relationship is very important. Of course, if you have a relationship to that person, know them, you have a lot easier to get the job. A lot easier.
So relationship is
It's very
advantage.
important. It's an advantage. But if you don't have the experience, his interest as a company boss is his company to work. And if you don't have an experience, he might not hire you, even if you have a good relationship, because he wants his company to work. And if he hires an idiot, his company will not work. So it doesn't matter.
So if I put it on priorities, mean that the first one is performance and second
Performance,
one relationship.
Yes, exactly.
Then
First
what?
one is performance, second one relationship.
Yeah.
Of course, there are companies that do that way around. That's why I told you it depends on person. There are companies that say first place relationship, then performance. Usually those companies don't survive very long. Well, in Romania, we have the culture that not only clothes, but also how you act is very important. Like I talked before, different people have different ideas.
Yeah.
So just because this boss would say this, does not mean the other boss will say the same. Just because you had a problem with one company before, you're not blacklisted. You can find another company which hire you anyway. Some companies find it an advantage that you have been in another company. Doesn't matter, you got fired. They go like, okay, he's done a good job, so if he got fired, I don't know what problem he has, but we can find out something about that company by hiring him. On the other hand, if the motivation for your firing was corruption or that you did a bad job, then yes, you will have a hard time getting another company to hire you.
Yeah.
It depends on the motivation, but normally the blacklisted part, not in Romania, it's almost impossible to be blacklisted everywhere. It's almost impossible. Because we're so diverse in ideas and the way we think. One way of thinking is not the same with another. Romania today has about 3 million people out of Romania working in different countries in Europe. And that's because of the corruption and because of the economy. But I can assure you, if the economy was better in Romania, a lot of Romanians will be in Romania. Romanians have had a problem with critics about how we are treating gypsies in Romania. We're being called racist and Nazis because of it. But the truth reality is that in Romania you can find gypsies.
Gypsies?
Yeah, even if in the parliament. So, sorry, that part that we discriminate gypsies or something, that is not true, because we have gypsies discriminating gypsies. Which is a bit funny, but that's the way it is. So the thing is, the cultural problem we have in our country with discrimination is not about racism, it's about class. The ones with much money do whatever they want, and the ones with little money cannot do almost anything unless they put money on the table, because it's a lot about money in our country, a lot about money. If you have money, you have almost anything.
Yeah.
And we did have a problem with gypsies, and many gypsies have gone to other countries and make a problem there and stamped us. But what they do is not what we do, because in Romania we have more than just one nationality. real nationality is Romanians, which is Tracher and Got, which is the real nations of Romanians. But that is only the big majority. Of course, we have been mixed with Italians, so we are also a bit Roman. That's why our language is Latin, a Latin language. But
how many languages you have?
in Romania, right now, well, Romanian is only the Romanian language itself for Romania. But we have different nationalities in Romania. We have Gypsies, we have Hungarians, we have Poland, we have Russians. And the biggest minority, in Romania, I would say Gypsies and Hungarians are the biggest minorities. And there are places in Romania that only talk Hungarian, which is a bit funny because that just proves that Hungarians were stubborn, because what Hungarian says that that place should be Hungarian soil is wrong, because they only go back to Second World War and First World War. But Romania is older than just the First World War. We go back to year 82 DC, which then we were 3 different countries, but with 3 different kingdoms, but ruled by Tracher and Got as a ruling, and the south part was ruled by the Ottoman Turks. So, and Hungarians weren't there; they didn't even exist on that soil. So, eventually, that's just a lie that it should be Hungarian soil. It makes a lot of Romanians with no history laugh about it.
Yeah,
But
I'm impressed by your knowledge about historical.
this historical part, after the revolution in Romania, could have led to war between Hungary and Romania, but did not, because of the economical reasons. And will never do, probably, because Romania does not want war, and Romania right now is the strongest country military in Balkan. Yeah. And as long as we don't want war, nobody's gonna go against us because we're stronger than them.
Okay. I think that, in any any country, we have good and bad points as well. But any country, even the richest or the poorest, we also have the problem in politics, in economic, and in historical or religional, or many problems. But if we look for the why, it means look for the reasons, a lot to say, so many things to say. But today, should we look for the how? This means that the how.
The thing is,
how I know that that is Romania that have religion like this, history like this, and culture and many things. But how to cooperate with Romanian people? How to?
Well, that because we have different nationalities in Romania, very many different nationalities, the cooperation can be a little bit different from person to person. That's why we are so different from person to person, because being Romanians, Hungarians, also Gypsies in Romania, and also being some Russians and some Polish, and also some Bulgarians, that had made a mix that makes that we have a general culture, but even if we have a general culture, people will react differently depending where you talk and who you talk to. So I can only say the smartest thing in Romania is to take a look at that person you're talking to, try to understand what he wants and how he wants, and from that draw a conclusion what you should be like in front of him. Because generally, yeah, being dressed good, talk beautiful, that's the generals. The rest, what you should say, it depends from person to person.
So it depends on biological diversified.
Yes, exactly.
Like where you from and what do you believe in and something like that. It's individual.
Yes, but at the same time in Romania we have made a culture where when, for example, a business boss takes the interview, you will have to try to talk more positive stuff and negative stuff, of course.
Yes.
And that's the problem, because being different people with different way of thinking, with this diversity, you don't know what's the positive for him. That's the problem. That's why it also depends on luck, not only on how you act in culture. The more diverse a country is, the harder it is to put a rule and say this is how you should do it.
But But somehow I think difference is also interesting. Because how you imagine that all over the world is the same way, so is the kind of boring, you think? So difference is also good, I think.
Personally, I love differences. And what I love about my country is the cultural differences. That's one thing I love about my country. The cultural openness. Romanians are very open. And if you go to Romania, you will find, for example, somewhere to live. It's hard to find somewhere to live because all the apartments are for sale and very little to rent. But you can live at somebody else's place. You'll find somebody. If you have money, you can buy. You can always pay somebody to live at him or something.
Yes,
so Romanians are very open. We are a warm culture.
Yeah, because you know, differences is good. But the thing is, we need to respect other country differences too. It means that when you say that your country is really open, I think it makes many more people want to cooperate with you, because it's okay if you different with us. It's okay, but you open, we
accept the differences.
Yeah, but you really willing to learn and willing to adapt to the new culture. Is that right?
Yes, we are.
So
I mean,
no problem.
Just look, even if. Just look historically, we did adapt the Italian culture when we were occupied by Italians. Yes, we did not adapt the Ottoman culture, but the Ottoman culture didn't try to adapt itself. It only tried to take money from us. So, no wonders. We are like this. We're not adapting against other cultures, but we don't have nothing against other cultures. So it's more like, okay, you can adapt to us. If you don't adapt to us, it's okay also. We accept it. Just don't say that we shouldn't exist. Because then we're putting ourselves in offense mode.
Definitely not.
Defending ourselves.
Okay.
So Romanians, I would say, we're very open. And we also have something very good. As I told you about nature in the beginning, we have a beautiful nature. We also have very many animals. We have 3 million wolves in Romania.
Wolf?
Wolves.
What is it?
Wolf. You know, wolf is like a wild dog.
Okay, I know it.
That's a wolf. So we have 3 million wolves in Romania. No other country in Europe has so many wolves. No other country. We have also very many wild boar, which is also very special because very little wild boar in Europe. We have Delta Dunării, which has very many species of birds, which doesn't exist in Europe, which is called to be on the way of extinction. So when it comes to nature, we're very good balanced. We have the one problem we have, and that is we have had problem, but we're solving it right now with the amount of garbage is made in big cities. But that is something we have deal with, and it seems to go good after year 2001. We have seemed to go better and better and better with that part. So I would say Romania is a wonderful country in many ways. Singularly problem is the corruption. If that would be taken away, then there is no problem with Romania.
Yes. I think your information is really interesting because, for example, if I want to cooperate and work in your country, maybe that information can help me to like prepare and find a way to adapt. It is, I don't know how to use that thing in
Keep in mind, in business, the most important for you if you go to Romania is to be civilized. Because it doesn't matter where you are, you will always gain respect when you're civilized. Even if you get insulted, if you're civilized, you will gain respect in Romania. In Romania, to be civilized is very important. And that you show yourself off, well, it's okay, that's just Romanian culture. In Romania, it's very usual that people show themselves off. Even if they don't have money, they buy beautiful clothes and look good. When you go home at them, you see they're poor, they're not rich. This is just the culture that they want to show themselves off, to show that they are looking good.
No, I think the way your appearance, I think one is not too much, not 100% about show off thing, but it's also the way you respect another people.
Yes.
Because when you wear something,
Respect
not
and
only you,
self-respect.
but the people around you look at you,
Yes.
and if they see you beautiful, they feel better than look at the person that's so ugly, I think. So the way you wear something.
What's ugly and what's beautiful, it depends how you see it as a person, how you
Just
feel
try
it.
your best.
But the thing is that you try your best
Yeah.
to look your best and behave your best, especially behave your best is the most importantly.
I think.
Because even if you don't look very good, you will shine as gold if you're very respectful, if you behave well, and if you try to look the best you can.
Yeah.
With that said, it doesn't mean that you should look like a king or something. It just means that you should look the best you can and be the best you can, respectful. Even if you criticize a person, criticize it in a respectful way. There in the high class Romania, there is also a way of being. Even if you insult the person, you can insult that person in a respectful way, which is very funny because it's hard to insult somebody in a respectful way, but it's possible. And we are of the idea that an intelligent person also talks intelligently and respectful. So therefore, even people which are less intelligent try to be respectful, because that shows a good image. And the image is very important in Romania. What image do you give? It doesn't matter your economy, it doesn't matter where class where you come from, or that you come from a ghetto. The image you give is very important. In Romania, we don't have this, oh, you're born in that ghetto, you're not gonna get the job here. In Romania, we have this, how do you present yourself? I don't care that you're born in a ghetto, that you're born in rich people's home, or that you're born in the countryside or in the city. I don't care. I care how you are as a person, who you are, not where you come from. That doesn't have any meaning in business, where you come from. Well, conclusion is that in Romania, the most important is the way you act, the way you present yourself, and what you have done before, and contacts, of course. But if you don't have contacts, what you have done before, your past history. The idea that you're gonna get blacklisted, no, that's not so normal in Romania. It's very hard to get blacklisted in Romania, almost impossible. The nature is wonderful. The culture is wonderful because Romanians are very open and warm. Remember, you have to be respectful to have the warmth, or else they're not going to be that warm if they're not respectful. And well, that's about Romania. There's a very big diversity in how people think, so to tell you this is how they think for sure is wrong. Just try to be respectful, and you'll see where you come with that person.
Thank you so much for your information. Thank you for your advice. That's all. See you.
Goodbye.